Serving their community is who they are because they love where they live. REMAX 3D Real Estate is proud to bring you Heart of Greenville, a video series dedicated to celebrating all the wonderfully great things about Greenville, Texas. On every episode, Tanisha Denny will share Greenville's story through the stories of people who call Greenville home. This is Heart of Greenville.
Thank you for tuning in to Heart of Greenville, where we get to hear the stories of the wonderfully great people of our community. I asked Wally Jeffers with Fish Ministries to come on our show because of his leadership and his heart for our community. Here's my conversation with Wally Jeffers. Hey y'all, I'm Tanisha Denny, your host of Heart of Greenville, and today we are sitting inside 2206 Caitlin Circle in Caddo Mills. And our guest today is Mr. Wally Jeffers, the Executive Director of the Hunt County Shared Ministries. How are you today?
I'm doing great. It's a beautiful day here today.
It is. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on the show.
Well, I appreciate you inviting me. I always love to talk about Greenville.
Awesome. Well, that's what we're going to talk about. But something we're going to talk about before that is your story.
Okay.
So people know you because of Fish Ministries, and I call it Fish, and
Right.
some people call it Fish. And later I wanted to talk about why it's called Fish Ministries over the Hunt County Shared Ministries. But we see you around town. We see, when you need donations and when you need things to help for the community. But what we don't know is the story behind Wally.
Okay.
And we don't know, where did you grow up? I know you did not grow up in Greenville, but you have a fun story about that. So start with, where did you grow up and how did you get to Greenville? And then later we're going to talk about what you love about Greenville.
Well, I was born in Odessa, so I'm a native Texan.
Woo-hoo.
Way back when. So we've been generations here, but moved to Baytown, Texas, near Houston, and grew up down there. Loved living on the coast when I was growing up because we were always able to go fishing and go swim in the bayou and all those fun kinds of things that, guys like to go do and hang out on the beach. But went to East Texas Baptist College in Marshall, and then ended up as a youth minister in Fort Worth, and that's where I met my wife, Sandra. And I grew up in a large family. There's 8 of us, 7 boys and 1 girl.
One girl. Where
Fortunately,
is she in
she's
the
the
birth order?
oldest.
She's the oldest?
So she ruled everybody. She was in charge. And then my wife grew up here in Greenville, and she had 4 siblings, 2 brothers and 2 sisters. So we both came from large families. Her dad was an optometrist here in Greenville, Dr. Dawson, and her grandfather was an optometrist here in Greenville, Dr. Reagan. So have a bunch of roots here in this area. We got married. Lived in Tennessee and then back in the Dallas area. Was a youth minister for almost 30 years.
What made you go to Tennessee?
Just a job opportunity for a church. I worked at First Baptist Church in Dyersburg, Tennessee, and loved Tennessee.
Did you?
Oh yeah, loved. We were right on the Mississippi River, so it was a great place to be.
Wow. How long were you there?
We were there almost 4 years.
4 years.
It was a great time to be there. But we moved back to Texas so we could have a family. My wife was commuting back and forth with her job. She developed curriculum for Texas Super Summer, which is a youth evangelism training event for students across the state. And so we moved back here. I went to work for Buckner Children's Home. And so I was working on this side of town, but we were living over on the west side of Dallas. So we decided we wanted to get out of Dallas. We'd had a daughter, Anna Lauren, and she was getting ready to start school. And so we began to look this direction and found a great house in Oak Village and Pat Staples' old home. And so we moved here, and her mother and brothers and sisters were here. So we kind of came home for her. As I'd always say, we came to the country, and she'd say, "This is not the country." And I said, "Compared to Dallas, this is the country, sweetheart."
That is the country. But you grew up in Odessa, so that was kind of the country too back then,
right?
That's
West Texas. That's a whole different conversation.
Oh, is that different?
That's different than here. That's desert, and it's just a different world. No trees, cactus, all those kind of good things. But then when we moved here, I discovered that this is where half of my family got its start, was in Greenville. My great-great-grandparents were married in 1845, shortly after Hunt County became a county.
Really?
They were the 45th marriage in the county.
Number 45.
Number 45.
How cool is
so
that?
Isn't that weird?
Yes.
So I kind of came home.
You did, and you didn't even know it.
Didn't even know it. But
how did you discover that?
I started just checking things out and discovered that, I started Ancestry.com, that kind of thing, just trying to find out. My dad died right before I was born, killed by a drunk driver, so I never knew his family.
Okay.
So that got me interested, trying to
Right. Wanting to meet someone.
yeah, well,
in your
just know
family.
what my family was like and that kind of
Right.
thing, and discovered that they had gotten married here, and it's just kind of a neat connection for us to know that we had roots here as well as my wife's family.
How old were you when you discovered that?
I was probably early 40s.
Okay.
So,
Wow, that was
yeah.
much later that you
Oh, yeah.
discovered
Yeah, yeah.
that you had roots here.
Well, as a kid, when you're a kid growing up and then college and then work, you don't really, and Ancestry really wasn't around. And,
True.
and then, boom, it was easy to go on the computer and look things up and find out where your family had come from and all those kinds of cool things. So, and I like history.
Mm-hmm.
So I love finding out stories about families and the community and that kind of thing. So it's always just one of my little likes.
Right. So you both came from large families.
Mm-hmm.
Do you just have the one daughter?
We just have the one daughter. It was one of those God things that my wife almost died giving birth. Had a rare disorder that happens during pregnancy that went completely undetected. But and normally the mother and the baby die at delivery. But my wife survived. We had a 9-pound, 1-ounce baby girl, healthy. Which was a shock for all of them. And I'll never forget the doctor coming in the ICU ward and saying, "Now, Mr. Jeffers, we're looking at a heart transplant." And I said, "We've had a baby." Wrong room,
Right.
But God was good. I mean, she never had to have surgery. She's almost, she's about 95% recovered and doing well. And so, and our daughter's healthy and married. And so things are going well.
Oh, congratulations. And I know she just got married this summer.
Yeah, in the midst of all this wonderful COVID pandemic stuff.
Yes.
I'll be nice what I say about it.
Yeah. Well, and what a blessing. And that had to be so scary. Did you know when your wife went into delivery that there were going to be a problem?
No. We didn't know anything.
Wow.
And we'd been, it just was one of those things that they, again, didn't listen to the patient, just thought, that's just part of pregnancy and some of the issues she was having, but it was just a blessing. God, again, was good. I always tell my daughter, it's amazing to me how many times in my history, especially doing Ancestry.com, where God intervened, and Christianity became a part of our family heritage. And so from the very beginning of our country, family came over and were missionaries to Indians, and there's just that long heritage of God working in and out of our family to serve and to care for people. And so it really was kind of helped me better understand why I have some of the background that I have, and it's all related to family history, that this is just who we are. My daughter now is involved in ministry as a children's ministry in Houston, and my wife was involved in ministry, and so, it's just part of our nature, our character, that this is what we do. So
when did you know you wanted to go into ministry?
I was 19. I go in a real small church. I mean, I was the youth program my entire life. So,
You were the program.
I was the program. Mom was Sunday school teacher. My dad was my, training union teacher. So, it was big time. And went to college at a small college there in Baytown. And the guy that was running the Baptist Student Ministry said, would you come work with us this summer? And so I went to work and got involved in youth ministry. And then in those days I did youth, music, and education.
Right.
I was one for all. But didn't have any idea that's what I was going to do. I wanted to be a lawyer.
I was going to ask, what did you want to be?
That's I thought I would be a lawyer. And
what type of law did you want to practice?
I didn't know at that time. I just everybody had said, you'd make a great lawyer, because you love to talk and you love to argue and all those kinds of things. And got involved with that church that summer, and God just said, this is what you're supposed to do. And so I was a youth minister for over 30 years, and then went to Buckner and worked there. And then
what is Buckner? Share that with me.
Buckner was the first children's home west of the Mississippi in the 1800s. The children that were orphaned in Galveston in the big hurricane, they brought all of those kids here. They had hundreds and hundreds of kids. The Buckner family built a huge facility in East Dallas and Northeast Dallas, and still working today, have orphanages all around the world that they work with. And so it was just one of those natural transitions, but I was in community relations, so I didn't have a lot of hands-on with people. And so when this position came open, one of my neighbors that I went to college with, just happens to live in the neighborhood, came and said, "Hey, have you heard about this?" And I went and applied, and it was just the perfect connection. I mean, it was just right up my alley. And have really been excited about being a part of Fish Ministries. One of the first things I asked them was, what does FISH stand for?
Right. I was going to ask you that question because I know we call it FISH, but I don't know what it stands for.
Well, they said, well, it's just about the story of the 5 loaves and 2 fish. And I said, okay. So I went home after that interview and just got to thinking and thought about all that FISH does and the stories that have been told. And I came back for another interview with them, and I said, well, this is what I think FISH stands for. Faithfully involved in sharing hope. Because that's what FISH does, you know. So
I was going to say, for anyone who doesn't know what FISH is, why don't you go ahead and share what FISH is and what it's about?
Well, FISH has been here for over 40 years now in the community, and originally just was a food pantry, 2 food pantries. What used to be Grace Presbyterian and Redeemer Lutheran were across the street from each other. They both had a little closet pantry, but they noticed that, you know, somebody would go to Grace, then they drive across the highway to go to Redeemer. And so they decided to get together. And from that conversation, FISH was formed. And so lots of churches, we have about 60 churches in the county that work with us, and now businesses and schools, and, everybody's really involved. When I came, they were distributing about $250,000 a year. So last year, we gave away $2.5 million worth of assistance in the county.
Wow.
And a large portion of that is food, because we do feed a lot of families. But we also do rent assistance, utility assistance, medical, dental, optical, prescription assistance. I'm working closely with the county right now on COVID needs with families who have been diagnosed with COVID, can't go to work. And so we're helping pay their bills and keep them afloat until they can get back to work.
That's awesome.
We do the Meals for At-Risk Kids program, which feeds kids in schools who are at risk to go hungry over the weekend. So we send them home with 7 meals and snacks on the weekend. And we work with almost every school district in the county. But with COVID, that's been a big change, how we're doing things. But if there's a need that arises, we try to see if we can meet it. If it's not being met somewhere else, I don't want to reinvent the wheel. I want to find niches of things that nobody else is doing. And so, we're always looking for new opportunities, or new opportunities come and find us, because we've done everything from help people get, diabetic needs, shoes or whatever they may need because of their diabetes, or walkers or whatever. We get lots of different requests. Help people get driver's license or photo IDs or birth certificates that they may need in order to go to work or whatever. So we do a lot of different things. We're open 5 days a week. We used to be open 2 nights a week, but because of COVID, we changed that. We're not open for folks to come into the building because of COVID, but we work with everybody out in the parking lot. So it's, it's kind of a virtual experience, but we haven't missed a lick.
That's awesome.
And we're seeing about 55 new families a month. So
that's new in addition to your normal families that you see.
That's right. We're seeing new families. But even, we've seen some folks go back to work, which is good.
That's great.
It's good to see that. But, it just amazes me, from my perspective as being outside of Greenville coming in, I've just been blown away by the generosity of the people here in our community and all the things that they do. We have not missed a lick. When I first came in 2007 was when the first big little kerfuffle in the economy was going on, and people were really hurting and lost jobs or those kinds of things. And so Bill Hunt, I always ask him, how many, when you get busy, what's a busy day? 10 to 12 families. And that happened for like about 2 weeks. And then we began to ramp up, and I'd tell him, you lied. We're seeing 25 or 30, and we eventually got up to 45 or more sometimes.
Per
day. And that's in 3 hours that we would see those folks, and then we would work on doing all the other things that we needed to do to help their needs. And so it was busy. And we've done it all from that little building. We didn't have much of warehouse space, so Juice next door has allowed us to use some empty space that they have. because if we didn't have that, we'd have never been able to meet the need that we've done. We'd never give away as much food as we give away if it wasn't for that. So
what a blessing.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, it's the community,
Yes.
and a community isn't a place. A community is people, and I always like to think of, when I talk about Greenville, I'm thinking about people or businesses or churches, kids who've come and helped. We have a group from Greenville Christian School there today.
My son is actually one of them.
Yeah. And they come out twice a year and volunteer and do things for us, and so we're always keeping them busy.
I think that's great. I've actually come on their field trips and different things over the years, and it's so great that we can actually take our children and teach them how to volunteer and give back. And we've been there nights before whenever the families were coming in, and it's very humbling to be there, and it also touches your heart to be able to serve and give back. But the people coming in are so grateful.
They are.
That service.
As I say, we care for those who are most in need. That's kind of our background on, we're meeting the challenge of people who really have needs. Sometimes it may be their own fault because they made some bad choices, but they still have a need, and we want to help them. Sometimes it's just because they don't have enough income. A lot of senior adults live off $783 a month. That's nothing.
I can't imagine.
I don't see how they do it, and that's why we're there to make sure we can take care of needs that they have that they themselves cannot meet.
And you created systems too for people to not be able to abuse the system as well.
Yeah. We have a database that all the agencies in the county can use or use. So we're tracking what people are doing around the county. We can go in real quick and see if did they get assistance over here, and now they're trying to get that same assistance from us. Because as I tell people, it's not that we don't want to help them. It's that if we help them, then there's other people we can help who may have the same need. I pull from a Rotary slogan that says, is it fair to all concerned?
Our four-way test.
That's right. I love that statement. So when I came and joined Rotary, I took that statement as we began to develop our guidelines and everything on how we would serve families that came in. I used that for a basis, so that whatever we do for one, we should be able to do for others who come in. We don't want to throw all of our eggs in one basket, because right now especially, so many families are struggling, and so there's a big need out there, and we can't meet all of that need for everybody, but we can meet some of that need and be fair to everybody who's coming in to get some of those resources.
That's awesome. I love that. How long have you been a Rotarian?
Since 2008.
Okay.
So
that's about the time I joined too.
Yeah, it's shortly after we moved here and went to work. Well, we were already living here, but it was when I went to work for Fish Ministries that I got involved in Rotary. So, it's been great to have that partnership with him, both with Daybreak and Noon, because they all have come out and helped with different things. And most of our civic organizations are involved in some way with us at some point in time during the year. It's always great to see people coming and getting involved. And it just it always reminds me what a great community we really have. And it's not, just Greenville or it's all of our communities and folks that are working together to make sure that we can do what we need to do when we need to do it.
Right.
And we've had more donations given to us in the first 8 months of this year than we'd ever had given to us in any history of Fish Ministries.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
In the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But that just shows people's hearts
Right.
wanting to be able to give back and share.
That's for sure.
Are there other models like this in other counties?
Oh, there probably are. I mean, there's lots of agencies like ours that, are out there doing the same thing we're doing, just from different perspectives, or maybe not on the scale, or maybe even larger. If you go to Dallas, there's lots of different ministries there that are, serving a lot more folks than we serve. They have a much larger staff and facilities. But, when it comes down to living somewhere, it's great when you're living in a good place. Even in the midst of today's climate, with all the hassles that are out there, with all the pandemic crisis, political crisis that are going on, the one thing that's really important is that we remain a community. Mm-hmm. That it takes all of us, from whatever end you're on the scale or wherever you are in the scale, it takes all of us working together to make a difference. It's really neat for me when I see a family that we've helped come back and begin to give. we've got a little family that they give real strange amounts. It may be $1 and something, or it may be $3 and something, but every month they're giving 4 or 5 donations, and it really matters because they got assistance from us and they wanted to make sure that they could give something back. And so sometimes I'm going, okay, it might have been better to wait and pull all that money, but they give it as they have it.
That's right.
And that's really what matters. They're making that donation. And as I tell everybody, it's not about the amount. It's, if you can give $10, that's $10 more than we had yesterday. If you can give that every month, that's great. We're seeing a lot more folks become regular monthly donors, which is a blessing and a half because it lets me know what we can and can't do. But again, we live in a pretty great little place.
We do. Which actually leads me to my question for you. Our show is Heart of Greenville, and it's we want to talk about the community and the wonderfully great people here. And I would really like to know, we've talked a lot about what you love about Greenville, but let's talk about it more specifically. Okay. What exactly is it that you love about Greenville?
One, the people. We have a wide range of characters, and I love all of them.
I love how you describe them as characters.
Well, you've got Friendly, who's just this great guy.
Yes.
I'd been seeing him around town, but then when I got to know him, I really came to appreciate the person that he is. But there's just a whole host of folks here who you just wouldn't think would mesh, but we all mesh. We all get together, we do our things, we all approach it from different perspectives for different reasons, but it's the people. Some of them are funny as they can be. Some of them you just go, I can't believe you just said that. But but it's just the people. And with my job, I get to meet lots of people, and I get to see the good side mostly of people in our community, and that's what I try to focus on. Is if you want to dredge up all the bad, you can dredge up all the bad, and there's a lot of bad. But we need to be focused on the good things that are going on in our community and the good people who live here. I like our businesses, how they love to get involved, and I often don't even have to ask. It amazes me how many times I'll just get a letter with a big check in the mail and they're saying, was just thinking about you guys and your ministry, wanted to be a part.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that says so much about the people in our community and the businesses.
But I love living outside the city. I consider this country, my wife will argue till the day of her death that this is not the country, but it really is. I love just the green, the trees, the beauty that exists around our area, driving to the lakes or whatever. There's just a lot of goodness here in the region where we live and all the things that are available to us, So that's part of it. There's a lot of people that are people of faith, and I love that aspect. There's lots of great conversations that can be had. And, I was just talking with a friend the other night, and I said, the great thing about our relationship, we don't have to agree, but we each can share our convictions or our perspectives, and we each respect that. And I like that.
Absolutely.
I just enjoy that kind of conversation. And it's just a good place to be. It's been great to our family. Our daughter got a great education here. She went off to college, and just good things have happened since we lived in Greenville for our family. I know my mother moved here shortly before she died, before we knew she had a brain tumor. So this is where she spent her last days. But we had lots of people who were very comforting and caring, and we've had bypass surgery, and people were knocking on our door, dropping food off, things like that. So you don't necessarily always find that in a big city. But in a community like Greenville, we still pay attention to the little things, and we're making sure people's needs are being taken care of, and it's just a cool place to live.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. You did a great job narrowing that down.
Well, I appreciate it. We enjoyed it.
I know we have Thanksgiving coming up, so I'd like to give you an opportunity. Are there any needs that Fish has that, as a community, we can help provide during the holidays?
Well, we feel like we're going to be serving more folks because of COVID, and it's all going to be, drive-through experiences. But one of the biggest needs is turkeys. Our resource for turkeys for Thanksgiving is no longer there. So we would get about 1,500 turkeys from them in November. So we're looking to we're going to need turkeys big time.
Big time.
We're going to give away about 1,200 to 1,400 turkeys just for Thanksgiving, and then we'll turn around and do that same thing again for Christmas. So on November the 20th, which is a Friday before our big distribution, we're going to be doing a huge turkey drive because we don't have a place to store them all.
Okay.
And so we'll need them frozen and brought to us, and we'll pack them all in and keep them frozen because we'll give them away the next morning. But
so you need all the turkeys delivered on November 20th.
They can go by Brookshire's
Okay.
or Super One, and they can buy a turkey and they'll hold it for us, or they can get a gift card from either one of those places or a gift card from Walmart. We can use those to go buy those turkeys, and we can pre-order some turkeys that they'll have ready available for us to people to come buy. But you know, whatever you want to do, if you want to bring us a turkey or you want to make a donation beforehand, that would be great. And again, you know, you can mail it to our post office box, which is 124 Greenville 75403, or you can go to our website at hcsmfish.org. Again, that's hcsmfish.org, and there's a place there to make a donation. So
fantastic.
And again, you know, it's one of those. This is my scariest time of the year because it takes a lot of food to feed 1,200 families. And especially when, you know, turkey's the main meal, especially for Thanksgiving. So, you know, I kind of get panicked around this time of the year thinking, you know, okay, we're going to have enough, and I feel like, you know, we're going to make it. But again, it's just, sometimes it's not down to the wire that we really know that we have all that we need to have in order to take care of those who are out there. But
God always provides.
Hey, and the community, you know, Friendly's done turkey drives for us, you know, in the past. And so I know people will step up to the plate, but we're always grateful and thankful that we're able to care for those in our community. And it's, as I tell people all the time, it's not my money. This is from your neighbors. And so this is neighbor caring for neighbor. And we've gotten to where really when we talk about, we used to talk about them as clients. Now we talk about them as neighbors. These are our neighbors that we're helping. And so making it more personal and not so sterile. So
that's great.
We're helping our neighbors.
Wally, thank you so much. I have one last question for you.
It's
your pop question.
Uh-oh.
Okay. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received, and how have you applied it?
Related to my job, I had a lady when I went into working with nonprofits, and she gave me this advice. She says, you know, it takes 10 years to really move a nonprofit in the right direction. And so don't get in a hurry. And so when I came here, I just kept that in the back of my mind, that it wasn't about doing it all today. It was about taking the long look and really processing each thing that needed to be worked on or changed or enhanced, but it was a process. And I told somebody, you know, we've been here a little over 10 years, and I really feel like for the first time our ministry is really on solid ground and we're really moving in the right direction. And so one of the big lessons from that for me was don't ever get in a hurry, you know, because change takes time, and if you're doing it right, you're going to do it consistently and with a rhythm in it, and you're not going to rush it. Because if you rush it, you might overlook some things that you really needed to pay attention to.
Man, I love that so much.
Yeah, she was a great friend.
That's awesome. Well, Wally, thank you for everything you do for our community. It is incredible where you've taken the organization, and just thank you for giving with your whole heart and your whole soul. And on behalf of all of us, I just want to say thank you.
Well, we appreciate it, and we're grateful for all that's going on.
Well, thank you again for
Thanks,
coming
Tanisha.
on Heart of Greenville.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for watching Heart of Greenville. This video series, which is designed to celebrate Greenville, Texas, is spearheaded by REMAX 3D Real Estate.